I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. We are already seeing an instance where the guilty conviction of the Trump organization on 17 felony counts relating to a tax fraud scheme in the state of New York is having a devastating impact on Donald Trump in other court proceedings. And the court proceeding in question, we go south from New York to the federal court in the Southern District of Florida, where federal judge Donald Middlebrooks has cited the Trump organization's status as a felon as one of the reasons to deny Donald Trump's request for an emergency injunction to try to block the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, from gaining access to Donald Trump's revocable trust documents. Let me read from the federal order that was just issued this week from federal judge Donald Middlebrooks denying Donald Trump's request for an emergency injunction to try to block the New York Attorney General from getting those trust documents. In the order, Judge Donald Middlebrooks states the following: the Trump organization has already been found guilty by a New York jury of several counts of tax fraud. See People versus Trump Organization, case number 01473-2021, New York State Supreme Court, Manhattan. The judge goes on to say, to now impede a civil enforcement action by the New York Attorney General would be unprecedented and contrary to the interest of the people of New York. Accordingly, it is ordered and adjudged that plaintiff's emergency motion for temporary injunction is denied. Signed in chambers, Judge Donald M. Middlebrooks, United States District Court Judge. So already, the Trump organization's status as a felon, being convicted on these 17 felony counts of tax fraud, is being cited by a federal judge that is cognizant of Donald Trump seeking relief before this federal judge when Donald Trump is running a criminal enterprise in the Trump organization. Just to refresh your recollection about what this case involves, on November 2nd, Donald Trump filed this frivolous lawsuit in the 15th Circuit in Palm Beach County, initially in state court, trying to block New York Attorney General Letitia James from gaining access to the Trump organization's revocable trust documents. Now, this was kind of an end run around the proceedings that were taking place in New York. In September, New York Attorney General Letitia James filed a civil fraud lawsuit against Donald Trump, his adult children, and the Trump organization, seeking at least $250 million in damages based on the fraudulent valuations of Trump properties by the parties that the New York Attorney General was suing. That postdated the special proceeding that was taking place for about 2 years, from 2000 to 2022. The special proceeding took place. That's like the investigation that was done by the New York Attorney General. Recall, in that investigation, Donald Trump was deposed and he pled the Fifth. He invoked his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination over 400 times when he was deposed by New York Attorney General Letitia James. So in connection with that proceeding, the New York Attorney General could get the discovery and get her hands on all of the documents relating to Trump's fraudulent financial dealings and the Trump-related entities' fraudulent financial dealings. One of the things New York Attorney General Letitia James requested and received via a emergency preliminary injunction in the state court proceedings before Judge Arthur Engoron was an independent monitor. And before seeking the independent monitor who would have access to all of these documents, Donald Trump was saying, hey, I don't want to deal with the New York court proceeding, so I'm just going to file a lawsuit in Florida state court and try to ask the Florida state court, maybe I'll get some corrupt judge like Judge Eileen Cannon that I know out here in Florida, and I'll ask them to block the New York state proceeding proceedings, even though there's absolutely no basis in law to do that. Heck, if I got this federal judge, Judge Eileen Cannon, to make a ruling that she would assert equitable jurisdiction, maybe I could get some other corrupt judge to make some completely unlawful ruling. Well, what ended up happening in Florida is the New York Attorney General's office removed the case from state court to federal court, asserting that it was actually a federal court that had jurisdiction, not state court. I suppose there was a risk, because we are talking about the Southern District of Florida, that the case could have been assigned to Judge Eileen Cannon. It was not assigned to Judge Eileen Cannon. It was assigned to Judge Donald Middlebrooks. And for all those who watch the MeidasTouch network, you know that Judge Donald Middlebrooks was the same judge that the other very frivolous lawsuit Donald Trump filed against the 30 individuals, including Hillary Clinton, back in March. That case was assigned to Judge Donald Middlebrooks, where Trump was represented by Alina Habba and asserted RICO or racketeering violations against all of the defendants. And Trump lost that case in devastating fashion. The judge said essentially every single accusation you've asserted was frivolous, and Alina Habba was sanctioned thus far approximately $60,000 and is potentially going to be referred to the state bar and disciplinary authorities. And Judge Donald Middlebrooks is not done yet. She's facing about $1 million in other sanctions motions brought by Hillary Clinton and some of the other individuals she sued. But Judge Donald Middlebrooks was then assigned this case against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Donald Trump had previously sued New York Attorney General Letitia James during the special proceedings in federal court in Syracuse. Trump lost that, and so now he filed this one in November against New York Attorney General Letitia James. It took me reading until like the 160th paragraph of Donald Trump's November 2nd lawsuit to even know what he was even asking for in his lawsuit. But finally, when you get down to, the 160th or 165th paragraph, you're like, okay, so I guess what he's just basically asking for is what we would call in the law a protective order, asking to not have to turn over these revocable trust documents, which makes no sense because that's all subject to the New York Attorney General's proceedings in the state court in New York, and there's what's called interstate sovereignty, and so you can't in Florida stop the New York Attorney General from doing what the New York Attorney General is lawfully able to do under the New York Attorney General statute to investigate fraud. There's something called issue and claim preclusion as well, that these issues have already been litigated. Further, there's not even personal jurisdiction over New York Attorney General Letitia James in Florida. One of the ways that Donald Trump tried to get around the fact that there was no personal jurisdiction to even sue New York Attorney General Letitia James in Florida is he tried to claim that she's not the New York Attorney General. I kid you not. Judge Middlebrooks in his order said it's absolutely frivolous. So Trump filed an amended complaint after filing the original complaint on November 2nd. He filed an amended complaint where he changed it to remove calling Letitia James Attorney General, even though he was talking about her enforcement action, and acted like she was just any other individual and not the New York Attorney General, so that he didn't argue that it was subject to like the interstate sovereignty rules and the personal jurisdiction rules. And Judge Middlebrooks is basically like in his order, do you think that I'm an idiot? Like, you're still suing New York Attorney General Letitia James, even though you just deleted the line calling her the Attorney General. I'm aware that she is the Attorney General. I kid you not. That's what Donald Trump tried to do there. But most notably in this order, we have in denying Donald Trump's emergency injunctive relief. And again, it was still unclear, like, what are you asking an injunction about? Like, what type of injunction? Like, evidently Trump's injunction was trying to immediately stop the enforcement proceedings taking place in New York, or stop Letitia James from getting access to these records, which is, again, completely frivolous. But one of the most important and impactful things that Judge Middlebrook cited was that the Trump Organization is now a felon. So to see that in writing, to see judges now referring to the Trump Organization as a criminal enterprise has real meaningful impact here. That is certainly worth discussing and certainly worth highlighting here. And again, let me read it one more time. It says the Trump Organization has already been found to be guilty by a New York jury on several counts of tax fraud. To now impede a civil enforcement action by Letitia James, by the New York Attorney General, would be unprecedented and contrary to the interest of the people of New York. I've predicted elsewhere that in this case, Donald Trump is going to also be sanctioned if New York Attorney General Letitia James decides to bring Rule 11 sanction motions or ask the court to exercise sua sponte its powers to sanction frivolous lawsuits like this. In this 8-page order that I'm referencing, Judge Middlebrooks referred to Trump's argument as frivolous, used very strong language like that. But look, not only now is the Trump Organization convicted in the state court in New York, being found guilty on these 17 felony counts related to a tax fraud scheme, but as I've mentioned elsewhere, and it bears repeating again, this will also impact the Trump Organization's ability to get loans. It will impact the Trump Organization's ability to get insurance. It may impact existing loans taken out by the Trump Organization, as there may be bad actor clauses or moral turpitude clauses within the contracts that will allow any lenders to accelerate the amount owed based upon a felony conviction. We see elsewhere, for example, like in the city of Chicago, where they have the Trump letters on one of the buildings out there, that the city is now considering ways to remove that on the basis that they don't want to have the name of an organization that's a convicted felon in its skyline. And so there is a cascading, devastating effect on Donald Trump because his organization is now a felon. One way we're seeing it is right here in this Judge Middlebrooks opinion, and we are going to see this in other opinions that are being cited as well. No doubt also it's given momentum, important momentum, to other investigations that are taking place. It's given momentum to the Department of Justice through Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation. It's given momentum to the Manhattan District Attorney's other criminal investigation. You've got Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, now bringing on a whole team of people, seeing, frankly, how easy it was, how cowardly Trump is, but how easy it was to prosecute the Trump Organization, the whole bravado and bluster, the whole facade of, Trump being this Teflon whatever, all out the window with the Trump Organization being so swiftly convicted. So everything they did was just so rejected by the jury. The jury was so disgusted, they said, with the Trump Organization, Trump's lawyers. Manhattan DA's got momentum's got wind at their back. Same too in Fulton County with the district attorney, Felony Willis there. So all of these things are happening at the same time. As I've said before, the wheels of justice turn slowly, all moving in the right directions. But I definitely wanted to highlight this order from earlier this week by Judge Middlebrooks denying Trump's emergency injunctive relief order, which, by the way, was so frivolous it likely would have been rejected. Not likely, it would have been rejected regardless of whether the Trump Organization was a convicted felon or not. But the fact that the Trump Organization is a convicted felon is now something that courts are going to point to continuously. Hey, you work for and lead a felony organization. Like we recognize that you are running a criminal enterprise and you're asking our court to do things. It just gives the court yet another grounds to sanction and get rid of these frivolous cases by Trump. And it's not just Trump, this is going to also stain the legacy, and I'm very happy about this, for all of his children. His children are going to be going into court in the future. They're going to be living longer than Donald Trump, and they're going to be out there talking, trying to do whatever the things that he did, and everyone's going to say, you're a criminal. Like, you work for a criminal organization, the Trump organization. And that's going to be brought up over and over and over again. And I think when we see other lawsuits being filed, they're going to lead with the Trump organization, a criminal organization being run and led by. So anyway, I think it was big news. Happy to share it with you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. And in addition to subscribing here, check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We have lots of exclusive content you can only get at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, but most importantly, help grow this independent media platform. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.